You had to relearn a bunch of stuff. It was head injury stuff, and memory and whatnot.
This is Joe Wong. Welcome to the Trap Set, where each week we explore the lives of drummers. I want to play something for you. You're hearing Torn by the Fox of the Crescent Moon by Earth, featuring my guest, Adrienne Davies on drums. Adrienne joined the long-running Washington band in 2001 and is now its longest tenured drummer. From the beginning, she exhibited the requisite knack for the band's signature slow tempos. And over the course of several albums, Adrienne has developed a sense of sonic adventurousness and nuance that perfectly complements and differentiates the band's hypnotic, meditative compositions. I spoke to her at the Woodland Theater in Seattle prior to a recent gig. And now my conversation with Adrienne Davies.
Well, I had 4 brothers, one real 3-step, and they were all very musical, kind of Partridge Family, like really everybody played everything. But I remember we had this old Ludwig blue, black, white swirl kit. It was kind of beat up, wasn't in the best, but we would fight over it, wrestle over it, pile drivers, half Nelsons, everything to try to, claim King of the Hill on the drum set. That was always what me and my brothers fought over. And it's just, I'm looking back on it, I'm like, okay, I guess I wanted it more than they did because, they don't play drums now, and I do.
What did your parents do?
My mom was an OR nurse, and then she later did transplants and would fly and procure hearts and lungs and whatever.
Wow.
So she'd be on the transplant team that would fly off from the helicopter. And my dad was my stepdad was an anesthesiologist. So a lot of medical jargon.
Cool. Did any of your siblings become doctors or nurses?
No, oddly enough. My real brother is a lawyer. That when he passed the bar, I was like, oh, that takes a lot of sweat off my back. Because the minute he had kids, the minute he became a lawyer, I was like, oh, all the urge for that kind of having to, be super successful I felt like it kind of went off my shoulders a little bit.
Well, what does it mean to you to be successful?
I think being successful is kind of following what you love, and being able to survive off doing what you love, and to be happy, or as happy as we can be, and just to have the opportunity to do that is success, I think, and. I mean, a lot of people always say that, do what you love and you'll be happy. And I was just trying to think of, other things that I would really like to do. But I think I kind of landed the jackpot on that because I love playing music and I love drums, percussion, just all kinds of music stuff.
When did drumming feel like it was really part of you and not just, a game that you were playing with your brothers? Yeah,
I think... Because it was always something that kind of came natural, and it was a little easier than guitar or piano to me. It just kind of, but I didn't really dig in and do woodshed, and I didn't do all that where I really tore it apart and broke it apart and built it back up until later. I think it wasn't until early 2000s, not too long ago, where I really was okay, I can kind of coast and be all right, and be kind of do my thing and kind of be a one-trick pony, play real slow music, and that's what I do, But then I was like, no, that's not enough. You need to really kind of tear all the skin off the orange and get to the pulp, and figure out what really, how to emote through it, and make it humanistic and not, because drums they can sound kind of, I've always heard them. I love it when you can hear the drummer and like hear the person and the human behind it. That's always been kind of a goal.
Do you feel like you had your own voice on the instrument before you tore it apart?
Kind of not. I think there might have been kind of emotions and feelings and like stuff I couldn't express that was there that might have been intrinsic, but it really didn't kind of all coalesce into something where I kind of felt like I had a vision behind it. Well, that sounds funny, but where I felt like...
Why does it sound funny?
Because I don't want to sound all grandiose about it, or like, But I guess it is what it is.
I mean, it's important to you, right?
It is.
And you want to have a vision behind it.
This is true, yeah.
So have you always been humble?
No. No.
Why are you laughing?
I don't know. No, but I just, you read interviews and you're like, oh, I really like this guitar player, right? And then you read an interview, you're like, oh my God, what a pompous asshole. Like, and you come off, it's one of those things where it's like, you hear someone talking, and it's a real fine line to like sound very full of yourself. So
yeah, I
no
mean,
one wants that.
I totally agree. I mean, I think there's a fine line between taking the music itself really seriously and taking yourself seriously.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But it sounds to me like you're just talking about taking the music seriously.
Yeah.
You say that in the early 2000s you felt a desire to take apart the way that you play and kind of dissect it and put it back together. What was the impetus for doing that, and what was your intention?
Well, I think at the time, I just felt like I wasnwasn't delivering, or like I was kind of going through the motions, and it just felt wrong to not really completely commit to it, and to just kind of. Like I felt like it had to be done. It was like if I was gonna do it, I needed to do it all the way and to really, really 100. A lot of people do that, like when they're attempting something new or something hard. They're like, well, I'll try 92%. I'll try 85%. That way, if I fail and I fail spectacularly, I can be like, oh, well, I didn't really try. I didn't put my whole heart and soul into it, and then they can kind of, Like,
it's a way of protecting themselves.
Yeah, and I do that. We all do that. But I remember it was kind of a all or nothing, just like go all in and really take it apart and like become the best drummer I can be, and the best musician I can be. And that was pretty much the impetus behind that. Was just I wanted to be able to stand behind what I did. And I remember at the time there weren't a lot of females doing, metal or hard rock drumming. And I remember that was even more of maybe because of my 4 brothers. I was like, I don't want to just be, oh, she's pretty good for a girl, or, she's a good female drummer. I just want to be a great drummer, and that was important. And I felt like in order to kind of stand behind it, I had to do the work and woodshed it, I don't think I ever get to the destination, but as long as I feel like I'm always learning new stuff, playing with new people, where it doesn't get old and it stays fresh, and I'm like I'm seeing things and kind of learning in a different rate and absorbing differently. Like I feel like that's kind of as successful as you can get with that, at least for me.
Did putting in all that work change the way that you feel in your body and in your spirit when you're playing music? Oh
yeah. So once you feel like you've done everything, not everything, but you've done a lot of work in that area, and you feel really confident. And it's like you can get out of your head and you're not thinking of the next measure and the next part and the bridge and like you're able to just be in the music and to let it just flow through you, and it's the greatest feeling ever, when you're able to just step back and not you're not assertively in the front of your brain. You're aware and you know what's happening, but you're like kind of passively. It's in the back that you're kind of. And it's like by being really knowing you've done your homework and you've done everything you could to prepare and to really open yourself up to it, you can like step back and like go into cruise control a little bit because you know that it's there and you can reach for it and it'll come,
How often do you get that feeling now?
Not every live show. I love recording. I love studio stuff. But live shows, when not every show for sure, but when it happens and it's live, that's the best ever. Because like you're feeling the audience. It's like it's almost transcendent. It's such a cool feeling. That's that's really the payoff of everything. Those few moments where time doesn't exist and you're just somewhere else, but it feels amazing. And it's like you want that next experience, you want that next high. It's kind of like a high, I guess, and you're chasing it, but you can't force it. It's like it comes on its own, but you can do what you can to kind of create the right vibe for it to come together.
Were your parents supportive when you decided to pursue music as your life path?
Well, they were really supportive of music, and they were really great for like never making me feel like, oh, I had to play flute. I was a girl. It was never that way. It was whatever you want to do, you do it.
Did other people try to make you feel that way?
Yeah, a little bit. And then like fifth grade snare in the band, like just kind of like everyone's, just it's overt and it's under the table. You can feel it from several different feelings, and then there's people who are just like, oh, they're excited to see a girl doing something weird, that girls don't do normally. But I think parents just want you to be happy, but they want to know that you can also support yourself, and it's a fine line, because like what we do and what I do, it's like it pays the bills and it does, you make money, but it's not like oh, you're set for life, or here's the down payment on a house, here's big money, it's not like that.
Yeah, it's not anesthesiologist money.
Yes, or being a lawyer.
It can be. I mean,
yeah,
I suppose
if you hit that 1% jackpot. Yeah.
Is that something that you've ever even thought about?
No. I mean, I was always just kind of floored to be, oh, you're paying me? All right, cool. Whatever it is, like a session fee, or, if you're, getting paid to play the bar, or play the, anytime you make money, it's just like, it's cool, and you're like, you're paying me to do something I love? Right on. That works for me.
One thing that can happen when you're getting paid to do something that you love is that you can undervalue, your contribution, and people can take advantage of you. Have you had to learn how to be more assertive in that way?
Yeah, that's an ongoing thing. That's something you just kind of, and you learn to pick your battles too, and like, to learn where it's worth, when is it worth really, stomping up the dust over it, and when is it worth, I can kind of give on this one. But you do, and I mean, Seattle specific, anytime you're in a city where there's just so many musicians and a million bands and a limited number of clubs, you have the pay to play, you have all these bands that'll play for free, and like Seattle, for example, like Earth plays Seattle like once every 2-3 years. But when you have friends that play twice a week, and it's like kind of like you lower your own value sometimes when you play all the time, which sucks because musicians want to play all the time. But in a city like here, it's like sometimes you play less, and then people will actually come out to see you.
Right.
When you haven't, they're like, oh, we won't be able to see him again for 2 years. I guess we got to go.
How central to your creative identity is Earth right now? Well,
it's funny. I love our music, and I'm a huge fan of I think what we put out since I've been in the band, and I was a fan of the band before I was in it. But I'm super proud of what I've contributed to the band and what we put out together. And it's like It's hard to say because I haven't done a solo thing. I haven't I don't have singer-songwriter, or I haven't found another voice to express myself musically so far.
Are you searching for another voice? I mean, is that something that appeals to you?
I like the idea, and I'm open to it. But it's interesting that it's like I'm wondering what else can I do? Not that I've like reached the plateau of what I can do with percussion and drums and whatnot, but it's like sometimes I want to be more, just have more options.
Right. Like sometimes examining something from a completely different perspective will then feed your, feed the drumming and feed that.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Like, and you'll pop just whole ideas out of nowhere where you never would have come across them otherwise. Because it's like, aiming firecrackers at each other and saying what lights.
Would you say that you tend to make decisions intellectually or instinctually?
I'm kind of one of those procrastinating decision makers, so I'll try to hold off, and it's always instinctual, and then it's a war between logic and rational decision, and then I'd say I go with my gut usually and instinctual.
What do you think about throughout the day?
I'm a big reader. Like I love to read, and I'm a bit of a Luddite. I don't do a lot of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram stuff. But I like every second I have that's spare time. It's like my favorite thing. I love reading, and it's like I just love escaping into somewhere else, and just like I love those kind of writers that can just completely change. Like it can change your whole perception of the world, and relation to other people. And I like those kind of writers that just take you there, and I love it.
Is there a particular book or a series of books that you've read over and over?
This last year I was really getting into the Chuck Wendig Cormorant series with Thunderbird, Cormorant, Blackbirds, but I love a lot. Like I'll find an author and just like read every single thing they did and be like, kind of cycle through it over and over and come back to the favorites.
So that's something that you like to do is reading, but what do you think about?
What do I think about? I think about music. I hear a lot of music in my head. That's a really interesting question to kind of specify and quantify. What do you think about?
Do you worry?
Yeah, I'm totally a worrier. I've gotten better. You can have a kind of prevailing thoughts or prevailing fears that like kind of nudge up and kind of sometimes they come to the forefront. Sometimes you're able to kind of bury them back down. But I think a lot of people worry about stuff like, you're getting older, like what direction is your life heading? The last thing your mom said to you, or, is my elderly kitty going to make it another 6 months? Like just worry things that you worry.
And when you say you got a lot better, what does that mean?
I remember worrying, goes back to like stage fright, and that's what makes me think of. I remember I used to have just really just horrible stage fright, like bad, and it was kind of amazed that I even made it to the stage. Many of those, a lot of those nights, it was pretty intense. But I remember, and that was all just fear, worrying, fear, and then feeling like I wasn't good enough. That's all it was. And like once I kind of really worked on that, got it all, did what I could in all those areas. And like you said, the woodshedding and feeling like you were, as good as you can be, it really helped that and just got that repetitive negative stuff out, That's
really interesting because for me, certain periods of woodshedding made me feel worse.
No way. Really? I mean, like just in stages?
It would make me realize it would make me see my limitations so much more clearly.
Really?
And how far I had to go. And it felt like I had infinitely far to go.
Or like if you go and you see a band and you see an act and you see a drummer that's just so overwhelmingly incredibly good, you're like, I'm never going to be that good. Or like, is it kind of that similar where
I don't know. I mean, I think a problem that I had was having competitive thoughts when I would go see music, like judging and at a certain point, like being competitive and thinking, can I do that? Am I better than that? And it would ruin it, because that's not what music is supposed to be about, in my opinion. But that probably all stemmed from the same feeling that made me feel like the same kind of self-deprecating drive that when I would woodshed, it was coming from a place of you suck.
Yeah.
Like, get it together.
Yeah, like get these skills down and be the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember a lot of that was, but I didn't feel that competitive thing. And I know that's kind of weird, but I didn't. I just felt more of, I don't want to be a sham. I don't want to seem like, you know what I mean? There was this weird feeling of like, here I was handed this great job. I can play drums and earth, but I'm not as good as I need to be. And I hope no one notices. That's what that was based on, the fear of, people are going to see that I suck and I have no idea or I'm not good enough, And, but my woodshedding was like, get all that out and not have that, percolating and bubbling in the background,
This episode of The Trap Set is brought to you in part by Colectivo Coffee. Handmade coffee since 1993. Check them out online at colectivo.com.
Are you the kind of person that plans your future?
Oh God, no, really bad at that.
Why is that bad?
Because I know that's a part of becoming an adult. That's a part of by the age of 30, by the age of 35, there's all these like time gaps where you're supposed to have these kind of life skills or.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Says who?
Yeah, I think it's my mother is.
Oh, that's the voice that
yeah,
you
the
hear.
mother, but she on the other side, she's been super cool and super understanding in a lot of ways about me being creative as opposed to being a stockbroker, or But in the same way, there's that kind of, I have to have something to show for this. I have to have something to show for this. And I don't, there's kind of a little bit of a flutter of nerves that way that I don't, I don't own a house. I don't have, a Lexus. They're not that I want these things, but those are the things. I really don't. A house wouldn't be bad, but I don't really care about cars unless it's like a Mopar or some cool muscle car or Dodge Start or something. But yeah, I don't really want a bunch of
things,
like finite, money things. I really don't.
If you were to give a drum lesson to an 8 or 10-year-old kid, what would your approach be?
Well, I think I would watch the kid, and I'd like to spend some time with them before I even got at a drum set or gave them a stick or anything. Like, I want to see, do they have that, really intense, just bottled up energy and they're really jittery and, super hyper. That would change how I would, go over it. And if they were kind of a more pensive, kind of quiet, introverted kid, I would do it differently. But
if they were super hyper, what would your approach be?
I think I would let them spaz the hell out and go all Neil Peart on anything they saw, just like, and let them just get it out and then kind of pull it back in, pull it back in, pull it back, and let them, because they're not going to be able to sit still and kind of, but just let them kind of see what the kids like and kind of find out what comes natural to them, and I think everybody has some kind of natural rhythm and some, even if it's weird or, just find out what it is that, speaks to them, or maybe they love cymbals, or they, they're really into toms or percussion, There's all kinds of stuff that, you may not, get the whole picture, but you have this one thing that really speaks to you. Maybe see if that works.
If you were hosting this show, who would you want to interview?
Jim White.
What would you ask him?
I've talked to him before, and he's super, super cool, but I would want to know how he got, just... It's mesmerizing, and I'm totally I would just want to know how he does it, and what is he thinking of when you're staring at him and he's playing and he looks like he's just counting the clouds. He's not even, and he's doing the most intricate, crazy stuff. And it's the fact that because I know when I play, I have such a look of absolute dire concentration, because I am concentrating, and then it just kind of. So to see a drummer that just is blowing my mind that hard, and to see them just look like they're not even, that's like 1% effort, it's just like, I want to know how he does it, and what's the magic, and where did he get, where are his influences, how does he mesh it all together,
All right. Well, we have been talking about him coming on the show, so if it happens, I'll ask him those questions for you.
Yeah, right. And it just, if you even watch like YouTube stuff of him, it's just ridiculous. That's one of those things where we were talking about where you hit, like you see someone and it's just kind of, it can make you feel like, oh, I'll never get there, but it can also be really inspiring too.
The Trap Set will always be available for free, but we rely on donations from our listeners. Please visit our website at thetrapset.net and click donate. Subscribe to our show on iTunes, and if you enjoy what you hear, give us a review.
What else do we want to talk about here?
Kitties.
Kitties? Do you have kitties?
Well, yeah, I have kitties. I have 2 kitties. But I was looking at this book the other day. It was Norwegian black metal artists and their cats. It was amazing, and a bunch of like full spread photos of these like super, they're in their, death makeup, and they're holding this beautiful tabby cat, and like this look of love between them, and just the kind of juxtaposition of these like super tough metal dudes, but they're like super in love with this sweet little kitty,
What kind of cats do you have?
Well, I have, let's see, I have a fat, all white cat who's kind of allergic to the world, allergic to everything. And I'll shave her like in her whole everything except for a little tuft at the end of her tail. Because she's like allergic to chicken, she's allergic to crab, she's allergic to just about everything. So it's like it lets me keep an eye on her skin. She gets all itchy and messed up. And then I got an older kitty, but he's the best. Lil Earl, Lil Dude, and then the white one's Shiloh. But she's been on a diet for 3 years. We've lost 2 pounds.
Oh wow!
She's down to 18, man. She's svelte now. Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, I mean, she lost 10% of her body mass.
I need to get her one of those little running hamster things. Get her to move a little more.
Do cats use those?
I don't think so. Yeah. But there could be a first.
Do you use those? Do you run on a treadmill?
Oh yeah, no, that's the other thing. That's a cool part about what I discovered with drumming. I broke my back in 1992, the T6 compression fracture, and
how?
I was going to school up at Western in Bellingham, and party. Well, I wasn't drunk. I was totally straight edge. Fell. Hit my head, was in a coma, hit my head, broke my back. It was like my last day I went to school. So head injury, broken back, blah, blah, blah.
You mean it was your last day? You saw that as a sign?
Yeah, I just never went back to school after that. But it was you had to relearn a bunch of stuff. It was head injury stuff, and memory and whatnot. I noticed that a lot of my initial kind of way that I played drums and the physicality of it was all like a way of kind of, because of my broken back, and like how I was super really strong like a crab like this, but like the area between the shoulder blades, which you rely on as a drummer, was so underdeveloped and kind of anemic. But about 5-6 years ago, I started going to the gym, got really serious about just, physically being able to drum better, and being able to make it to the end of an hour and a half, or, just having the cardiovascular and just really getting all those muscles that were so deteriorated from the injury, getting them built back up and buffing them up. And I saw like a physical therapist, and and it turned out every time I went to the gym, I did everything that guy taught me to do. And it worked so well. Like all of a sudden I had like upper body strength, and this didn't hurt, and I could stand straight. And it's just, as a drummer, it was like a night and day change. So much difference.
What happened with your memory?
Well, I definitely took a good solid whack to the head, for sure. I was in a coma, and I was 17. But it's just, you kind of learn, like, you find out as you go what really got hit, and what came out okay. But like lyrics, no problem. I can, and like, but it's sometimes like remembering people's names, days, times, like the timeline of how things come in order are kind of hard for me still. But then there's other areas where you would never even notice, so.
I wonder if you used that process of recovery for other parts of your life, like when you were taking apart drumming and putting it back together. Like, were you using that same kind of disciplined approach?
Yeah, maybe. I know that I never expected myself to be able to learn new musical things. Whatever worked for other people, I wasn't expecting that to work for me. And what was the quote? I know that like I remember I would hear things very differently than other people would. And like when I first, like I remember being extremely aware of timbre. Like sharps, flats, like cymbals especially, like it just, there'd be like all these things that I couldn't, like almost obsessively couldn't get past it, but if it was right, it was wonderful,
Anything else we need to talk about?
I don't know, a lot of drummers they have their very specific kind of kick pedal, I like a speed king, I like a double this, they have this very like set, they pick one and they stick with it for 20 years.
Yeah.
And I know for the life of me, like kick pedals themselves, like I used to go through them like they were candy. Like I was always like trying to find the right one, and there's ones where you have so many varieties of options for that you end up in this weird zone that you can't ever make it playable again.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, it's just like totally screwed up. So I finally gotten over that hurdle too. I can just get a kick pedal, make it work, done, don't touch it again. But yeah, I remember I used to be really befuddled by kick pedals.
What does that say about yourself? Is that what you do with life? Do you find something and make it work?
Yeah. Like find a way of making it your own, and like make it work for you a little bit, and not get bogged down in all the details and all the options. Like try to just shrink it to like what's important, what matters, and make it work.
I think people hide in options.
Yeah.
I think music and art in general can be all about narrowing down options and making a decision, making a choice. Mm-hmm. And life is like that too. But it's like, some people like to keep their options open, but then you're not making a statement, right? It's like, what is it that you want to say, and then say it, and then see how it works.
Yeah, let go of it. Like let the thought out and then let go. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good place to end it.
Cool.
Adrienne Davies, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much, Joe.
The Trap Set is produced by me, Joe Wong, along with Chris Karwowski, who also edits the program. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at The Trap Set, and visit our website, thetrapset.net, to subscribe to our show for free. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please donate to our show. If you can't afford to donate, please tell a friend and give us a good rating on iTunes. Send your feedback and guest requests to thetrapset@gmail.com.